Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Crayden. Welcome to Friday, August 30th, 2024. Hope you're doing well. When we come back, some modest proposals from the leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre. I know you can't wait to hear these.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
And cheers. Have a cup of coffee. I'm using my Stand on Guard cup here. Hope you like it. I just love this cup, and I've just started using it this week. And thanks for watching today. And like Sasha the Cat always said, smash that like button. We're beating the YouTube censorship and YouTube suppression every day. With your help, we beat. I can't do it alone, obviously. Thank you for subscribing in the numbers you have been recently. We are exceeding expectations, headed toward that 30,000 membership goal, subscriber goal. And we are so excited about what's happening to this station because I know we're going to the next level. And thank you for your comments, by the way. And I had a comment here. And we had a fantastic comment yesterday, and we had a super chat, which I'll be bringing up later because I want to make special reference to them. When people make the effort to do that, I think we need to acknowledge that. And I had a comment here this morning really, really blessed me because you need that sometimes. I'm truly enjoying your content. Very informative, so spot on. Thank you, Jonathan Evans, for saying so. We do our best. I like to say I give you all the news you need to know. Obviously, I'm not giving you everything. Giving all the news I can possibly get into one broadcast. We might up to two broadcasts in the future, morning and evening, but that's going to be the future. We'll see. But I think you'd all agree that we've arrived at a morning time slot that seems to be working for us all. And I appreciate the fact that you're responding as you are. I want to talk about Pierre Poilievre this morning, and I will put up that comment from Jonathan. Thank you so much for that. And a good morning, Janet Nunn, to you too. Thank you. Now, getting to Pierre Poilievre, you've all heard the news. Okay, Pierre Poilievre is reaching out. I don't know when this picture was taken. I've never seen Poilievre. This Canadian press photograph. I've never seen Poilievre and Jagmeet Singh express anything but mutual contempt for each other. But here's a picture of them embracing, at least holding hands. And I don't know what this was over. Probably Ukraine or some stupid issue like that, where they're all in lockstep. It's the uniparty on Ukraine. Keep inching closer to nuclear war. They all love that one. They're all in agreement on that one. But I think Poilievre had an interesting comment here yesterday. And I know this is a Conservative Party ad. And no, I'm not in the bag for the Conservatives. I generally support them because they make a hell of a lot more sense than the Liberals. But I'll criticize them if I need to, if I have to, because I'm all for honest government and principled small c conservative and principled small l libertarian government that works for all of us. And we have to keep pushing politicians in the right direction. If we don't, they will naturally go to the left because there's a leftward drift in society. There's a leftward drift in all of our institutions. There's a leftward drift in the mainstream media. And we have to keep pushing from the right. I've always said that. That's why it's called Craydon's Right. I'm sure you've all read it now. But here's Poilievre saying, break up this coalition. Jagmeet Singh, come to your senses and put the country ahead of your pension.
Jagmeet Singh is trying to delay the election until after February of next year so that he can qualify for a $2.2 million taxpayer-funded pension. That's why Canadians are calling him Sell Out Singh. My message to Sell Out Singh is this: put the people ahead of your pension. Break the costly coalition with Trudeau to trigger a carbon tax election. where Canadians can choose between the costly coalition of the NDP Liberals that tax your food, punish your work, take your money, double your housing cost, and unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
Yeah, I know the sloganeering, and I know Pierre Poilievre has got a gold-plated pension as well. That's the only job he ever had was working was working at the House of Commons. I know, I go back that far with him. He went from Calgary to Ottawa, and he was very young when he was elected in the Nepean, first of all, as a Conservative MP under Stephen Harper. And he spent his whole life there. So, yes, he certainly has political experience, but he's also getting a gold-plated pension. But he makes a good point here. Jagmeet Singh is clearly in this for his own gain, and he talks about wanting to do good for the workers and to do something for ordinary Canadians, and talks the old spiel about the NDP being the party of the ordinary guy and woman, about the ordinary Canadian. And of course, that is so passé. The New Democratic Party hasn't stood for ordinary Canadians for so long. They stand with elites like Jagmeet Singh, a lawyer from Toronto, who drives a Jag or a BMW? I can't remember which, but and carries the designer accessories with him everywhere. This is a guy who never really has run into a blue collar worker. And certainly when the Freedom Convoy was in town, when there were lots of blue collar workers, truckers, honest truckers who work hard for a living, Jagmeet had no time for those blue collar workers. He wouldn't even come out to say hello, or he wouldn't even come out to argue their case. So that's how much a Jagmeet cares for this. But I think Pierre Poilievre is right. We do need an October election. Justin Trudeau doesn't want that. Of course, that's the problem. Justin Trudeau does not want an October election. You think Jagmeet Singh does? No, I think this is wishful thinking. This is clearly just a political device that Poilievre's using. But sometimes we have to use political devices. This, however, isn't. And I have to applaud Poilievre for taking on this issue head on. Taking on head on. The temporary foreign worker program. Because, of course, Trudeau announced this week that this is to get that reducing the amount of temporary foreign workers in Canada is a panacea for the employment problem or the unemployment problem. It's going to solve everything. Just take in fewer temporary foreign workers and everything's solved. Now, Poilievre responded to this in what some people, I don't say a lot, but some people are interpreting as an immigration policy. It might well be that. But I do want to say it's very important to recognize that there is a need for the temporary foreign worker program in some areas of our society where Canadians don't want to work, such as agriculture. They don't want to be farmhands. No. This is why farmers have reached out to this program, because they can't find Canadians who want the jobs. Now, this is not the case with everything in the temporary foreign worker program. That argument does not apply to all of the jobs the temporary foreign workers have taken. But in terms of agriculture, ordinary Canadians don't want to do that kind of work. And that's why farmers have to reach out to this program. They would love to hire Canadians. They would love to. Mushroom farmers, for instance, would love to hire Canadians, but they have to reach out to get their crop processed. They have to reach out, and farmers have to do that to get the apples and the pears and the plums picked. They have to do that. Unfortunately, that's the way things are. And so if Trudeau just wants to annihilate the program, saying, oh, it's going to mean a boon for employment for Canadians, it won't, because Canadians will not take these jobs, and we'll be back to square one for farmers. But listen to Poilievre actually discuss this issue rationally.
We have to acknowledge that Justin Trudeau has destroyed our immigration system. We had a multi-generational consensus in immigration for literally decades before Trudeau came along. Immigration was not even a controversial issue prior to Trudeau. We brought in hardworking, law-abiding citizens in numbers that our housing market, our job market, and our healthcare system could absorb. What has since happened? Trudeau and Fraser destroyed the temporary foreign worker program by telling their bureaucrats to overlook fraud, by getting rid of the rule that required that you couldn't bring in temporary foreign workers for low-wage jobs in places where there was over 6% unemployment. In other words, where there were lots of people looking for work. They destroyed the international student program by allowing rampant fraud and abuse and increasing the numbers to levels we could not afford. And they grew the population almost 3 times as fast as the housing stock. That is entirely a decision of Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals. When I'm Prime Minister, the temporary foreign worker program will be used exclusively to fill jobs that Canadians cannot or do not fill, like in agriculture sectors, but never to replace Canadians or drive down wages. We will only admit international students to, if they have a way to pay their bills, a house to live in, and a real admission letter to a real educational institution. And population growth will be below the growth in jobs, housing, and healthcare. That is a common sense plan. Now let's bring it home.
Isn't it nice to hear common sense policy? And Poilievre's dead on with this. And this is exactly what I was saying. He mentioned specifically agriculture as an industry, you want to call it that should be exempt. Because no, Canadians do not want to do that work. You know, I've done that work. I grew up pulling weeds. I grew up taking the apples off the trees in my backyard. I grew up with the soil on Vancouver Island, always in the garden because it was a part of life. And I've actually done some farm work over the years. It's hard work, but if you're desperate enough for wages and you don't want to go on welfare or you don't want the government to assist you, you'll do that work. But unfortunately, farmers can't find enough people in Canada to do that. So Poilievre's dead on by saying this. That agriculture is the major exception. But in places in Canada where the unemployment rate is over 6%, temporary foreign worker programs should not be applied directly to those industries that are not agricultural. And I think this is indeed an immigration program. That Trudeau does not have an immigration program. His immigration program is mass migration, bring them all in, worry about it later. Worry about the housing problems that come as a direct result, as a direct consequence of having too many people flooding into the country, as well as unemployment resulting from that. Yes, we've seen the same thing in the United States, where they've had an open border for 4 years in the United States, an open border. Anywhere from 25 to 40 million illegal immigrants have entered the United States under Joe Biden. See, my tie is askew. Trudeau does that all the time. And the result has been illegal immigrants taking the jobs away from American citizens because they're prepared to work for less and they don't pay taxes, so they don't claim the money. They don't claim the money they make. So it's a crooked system. And that's what Poilievre does not want to happen here. Stop. I hope this is what he's also saying. Stop the mass migration. Let's have a rational immigration policy that we used to have under both conservatives and liberals. You have to remember, it was Sir Wilfrid Laurier, Liberal Prime Minister at the turn of the 20th century, who brought in hundreds of thousands, millions of immigrants who settled in Western Canada, and they had jobs because they were prepared to farm. That's where a lot of our Polish, Ukrainian stock came from. My ancestors on my father's side came into Canada during that period, before that period, because they understood the land, they understood the economy, they understood the kind of jobs they were going to do. They wanted to farm. And they came, and that's what happened. It was a rational immigration policy. That policy continued through other Liberal administrations, including Mackenzie King and Louis Saint Laurent after him. Much more rational immigration policy. It began to change under Pierre Trudeau. There used to be more, it became more identified with bringing in groups that were sympathetic to the Liberal Party. Justin Trudeau has made a policy of that. His immigration policy mirrors his identity politics. And that's all it's about. And of course, this Mark Miller, as immigration minister, has talked about an immigration cap that's not even going to start until after the next election. So he's unaccountable. So thank God, after the next election, if we have one, Pierre Poilievre will be the prime minister and he can roll this back. And he can actually have an immigration cap that's real. So I wanted to get through that this morning. And once again, please like this station. We're being suppressed right now. Look at those numbers. Share it with your friends and family. Thank you so much for supporting the station. And I mention that again because we got to fight the censorship. And I tell you, we're going to be talking a bit about the U.S. election later. Stay tuned for this because there's some shocking video I have for you about the U.S. election. But this is really the sleeper story of the week. And it's the arrest of the CEO of Telegram. And I've got to look at his name here because I keep forgetting it. Pavel Durand. Pavel Durand. Remember that name. This is a guy who is in a French, well, wasn't a French, he's on $5 million bail. I think it's euros, actually. 5 million euros bail right now. He was enticed to go to France to have lunch with the buffoon president of France, Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, I mean, you can't make this up. It's like something out of a bad movie. He's enticed to go to France, have lunch with the president, Macron, and they promptly arrest him. No lunch. He goes straight to jail. Well, what for? Well, he's operating Telegram, which of course I use every day. It's the social media communications outlet of choice for a lot of folks, but I use it every day with the media outlet I work for. And so do about 1 billion other people. So what do the cops want to say, the French cops, and the whole European miasma right now is completely corrupt and authoritarian. Completely. The UK is a dictatorship right now. Forget the Nazis crossing the English Channel. They're there. And the Nazi is called Herr Keir Starmer. He's the Nazi. In France, they've got an authoritarian president called Emmanuel Macron who wants to lock you up if you happen to own a digital service where people might say something that's disagreeable. And so you're therefore responsible. So Durand is responsible for everything that's said or done on Telegram. This is ludicrous. This is absolutely stupidity. But what it's about is shutting it down. They want to shut down Telegram. They want to shut down. And who's next, you think? Elon Musk. Oh, yes, Elon Musk. Yeah, of course. Nobody else is stronger in terms of free speech on social media than Elon Musk. And this is a man who's got the personal wealth and power to push it. And he's taking it. He's been taking a beating. They're threatening him. Now, if I was Elon Musk, I would never set foot in France or the UK again because, yes, they would arrest him. They would arrest Elon Musk. That's exactly what they're up to here. Now, here's an interesting little segment that I just find and this explains why this is so dangerous. It's not just about Pavel Durand. It's about how governments want access to your private correspondence on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, on Telegram, on WhatsApp. The government wants to know what you're thinking and saying. So let's watch this.
So this charge that is unbelievably alarming, quote, providing cryptology.
And I should have mentioned, this is Glenn Greenwald. This is the independent journalist who was instrumental in getting the WikiLeaks story out. And with Assange. So this is fascinating.
Services aiming to ensure confidentiality without certified declaration. In other words, anybody who provides encryption which was the technology that really became popular after the Snowden reporting as a way for people to protect their communications from government intervention, simply providing encryption. And the second charge here is, quote, providing a cryptology tool, not solely ensuring authentication or integrity monitoring without prior declaration. Any kind of encryption that doesn't allow the government to have a backdoor to have full access to it is now a criminal offense that can subject the heads of these technology companies to prison. Now, as we're about to show you Paul Durov explaining it just a little bit, but this is going back to the Snowden reporting and even back to the controversies of the 1990s when the Clinton administration tried to exploit the terrorist attack at Oklahoma City to say, look, there are these dangerous domestic elements that we cannot allow to use the internet using encryption and hiding behind encryption. We need to monitor what they're saying. And so we have to have a backdoor into the internet. And the reason why that's so dangerous is the minute that you build a backdoor into any kind of encryption service, you can't just have a backdoor that can be used by the government. Once you have a backdoor, it can be used by anybody. Imagine if at your house, you have extreme amounts of security at the front of your house. And then you say, let's build a backdoor that's very easily accessible because we want our neighbors to be able to come in when we're traveling, or we want our kids, if they come home when we're not here, to be able to enter our house. You can build a backdoor that will allow that, but that backdoor can be used by anybody else. They can circumvent all the security measures you put in the front. And so criminals or people who have extremely malicious intentions against you, government agents without a search warrant, everybody can use that backdoor. Once you have a backdoor to encryption, it's not encryption any longer. It now has a opening for terrorist groups, for non-state actors, for governments all over the world to invade the system. And cryptology, encryption is basically an illusion.
Now, are we getting this? The government wants a backdoor. I think this is an excellent analogy. You build a backdoor to your house because, yeah, you want your cat to come in, or you want the kids to come. Everybody who knows about it can use it. So this is the complete breakdown of encryption. Complete breakdown. That's what the government wants. Because he mentions that encryption became popular after Edward Snowden blew the lid off what the Obama administration was doing in terms of surveillance. It was spying on Americans. The National Security Agency was spying on Americans en masse. They lied about it. Snowden proved it was happening. Just like Julian Assange proved that the U.S. military was up to no good in Afghanistan and Iraq. But it's absolutely incredible. Now, how are we going to segue into what I'm going to show next is that we all talk about how CBC gives softball interviews to Justin Trudeau. They've been doing that for years. And how CBC goes after Pierre Poilievre very, very hard. But you know what? They're nothing compared to CNN in the States. I'm going to show this entire clip. But just watch what CNN did to a supposed interview with Vice President Kamala Harris, who's the Democratic presidential nominee. This is a joke. But this is what, even in the private sector in the United States, this is how they pander to woke leftist politicians, to a communist like Kamala Harris. This is absolutely it right there.
This is not where Vice President Harris thought she would be.
We're going to Georgia. Yes. 7th trip there this year for me.
A surprise nominee for president just months from Election Day. Set in motion after a stunning debate.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
There was a slow start, but it was a strong finish.
And then an extraordinary decision.
I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
Philadelphia! What usually takes years of planning, coming together in a matter of weeks.
Tim Wall!
Bear in mind, this is a preamble to a supposed objective interview. This is a campaign video. But this is a wonderful woman, and we all need to support her, according to Dana Bash, the propagandist who works for CNN, who is married, by the way, to one of those U.S. intelligence experts who declared the Hunter Biden laptop to be Soviet, or that's how they look at it, Russian disinformation. Yes, they're all in this game together. Bash is not a journalist, she's a propagandist. And this outrageous interview proves it.
After a historic nomination at the convention in Chicago,
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I
Look at the
accept
adulation.
your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
the Harris Walls ticket is now pushing forward with the shortest presidential campaign in modern history.
What did you hear from voters here?
People are very optimistic.
We joined them on the trail as they visited the battleground of Georgia, just 68 days from the election.
All right, I'm going to show you a couple clips from that interview. It's amazing. Bear in mind, this is supposed to be a real journalist. I have to laugh because if you ever watch Jimmy Dore, the comedian, he has a great YouTube site. And he said, watching Dana Bash is like watching a movie where there's a real journalist pretending to be a news personality on the movie. It's just so artificial. You can run a truck through that gap. It's so artificial.
Your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis.
So it's all Donald Trump's fault. Does this remind you of Justin Trudeau, who's always telling you that all the problems we have today, any problems we have today, are a direct result of Stephen Harper being prime minister 9 years ago? This is how these idiots talk. The amazing thing for me is that CNN thinks they can get away with this drivel without criticism. They think this is a real interview. This is crap.
When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world.
Where have you heard that? That sounds like Justin Trudeau's talking points. Yeah, we've arrested inflation. We've stopped inflation in Canada. We all know that's garbage. And, oh, yes, and we're doing better than any other nation in the G7. Kamala Harris just stole Justin Trudeau's talking points. Justin Trudeau is always telling you we have the lowest per capita debt per ratio debt, the lowest ratio per debt in the G7. And we have the best credit rating in the G7. And we've recovered faster than anyone else in the G7. Kamala Harris says, oh, no, that's the United States. Sorry.
But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care.
Of course, she means price controls. When asked, what price gouging are you referring to? She couldn't name a single example. She couldn't name a single example of what she's talking about. She wants to institute price controls, which will lead to empty shelves in the grocery store. And Justin Trudeau's talked about the same thing. These two are in mind meld. Justin Trudeau is the male Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is the female Justin Trudeau. They're in complete political sync. And it's frightening to listen to this because you know where they're getting their talking points from. The globalists. The WEF. So I got one more to show you here. And it's absolutely frightening how she's incapable. Harris is Trudeau. Yes, skirt. That is good. Yes. That is Great. I want to go out with this one here because this is
Still want
another
to
classic
ban
one.
fracking.
Do you want to ban
No,
fracking?
and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Uh-huh.
In
What
2019,
about-
I believe, in a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question, I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear.
She gets off scot-free with this. So, yes, her position is completely changed. It's completely different. Dana Bash, we'll just let that go.
My values have not changed. I believe it is
Your
very
values.
important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
So, what do we got there? Actually, interesting. Very few people actually notice this. Kamala Harris just admitted that the so-called misnomered Inflation Reduction Act, which actually fueled inflation by spending trillions of dollars, pumping trillions of dollars into the economy and increasing the inflation rate, just like Justin Trudeau's done. The Biden-Harris administration is precisely on the same track as Justin Trudeau. So she says what it was really about was to pass the green energy plan. You know, yeah, it's about the Green New Deal. That's what the so-called Inflation Reduction Act was all about. And she admitted that here. Once again, we see no light bulb above Dana Bash's vacuous head. There's nothing there. No criticism. I'm just trying to find, actually, before we go out here, the super chat we had yesterday. I wanted to give a special thanks for that. But I will do it in my next broadcast. I'm going to make a priority doing that because I believe in thanking the people who support you a little extra bit. I think that's from, and we appreciate that because there are days. There we go. Thank you, Rocky Mountain Lady. Thank you for the $50 super chat yesterday. We appreciate it. I appreciate the work. And she said, I appreciate the work you do. It's good to see you out there grinding for the love of country. Yeah, I guess I am grinding at times. So thank you so much. I'm glad we got that up today. Wanted to do that. And thank you for your comments. I do read them. I want to spend more time in the future actually going through some of the comments because they're very special to me. And I do listen to what you're saying. And when you object to things, I do think twice about what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Because my God, that's why we have a prime minister like Justin Trudeau who doesn't listen to anybody except what he would probably consider his inner being, which I know believes is somehow connected to God. And so he doesn't need advice from anybody. And this is why he's been a catastrophe as prime minister, as Kamala Harris will be if, by God forbid, she is elected on November 5th, because she will be the U.S. answer to Justin Trudeau. Thank you for watching today. We got a little overtime, but I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate you so much for watching this broadcast and supporting this station as much as you do. We love you here. God bless you, and have a great rest of your Friday and a wonderful Labor Day weekend. I will be probably back on Sunday, perhaps Saturday. I don't really get much of a weekend off, but I will be back to wish you the best. But I'm going to say it today. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you soon.